Will BRICS kill the US dollar? How soon could the US dollar be replaced? If the US dollar died, what will happen to the world? Would the fall affect us? Should we be worried, and what can we do? I will answer all these questions and I will let you know what the media isn't telling you. Before I start, I would like to give you a quick update about my portfolio. So 4 years ago, my portfolio was only 5 figures and I grew it to 6 figures, and the goal is to hit 7 figures together, which is the channel's mission, to hit our first $1 million together. What helped me grow my portfolio is that I called these stocks at these prices in 2022, which is only 3 years ago, and they all doubled. That helped me double my portfolio in 3 years. Same thing, I doubled my portfolio in 2020 to 2021 during COVID. When they doubled, I sold my holdings and bought these stocks, as I think they have high potential to double in the next 3 years. I will give you weekly update about my portfolio and these stocks and what stocks I will be picking in the future, so stay tuned. So without further ado, so this year in 2025, the US dollar fell 10%, marking its worst first half year performance since 1970. What does it mean? This means when we compare the value of the US dollar to other currencies like euro or yen, the dollar value dropped below them by 10%, which is a lot. To show you how significant this is, I will give you an example. If 1 US dollar equals 1 euro, now $1 equals only 0.9 euros. Why the US dollar fell 10% in 2025? Why 2025 specifically? This drop happened because the US government debt is getting bigger. The US has been spending much more than it earns. Investors started to worry the government will print more money to cover this, which weakened the dollar over time, and that's what Elon Musk mentioned in X. Take a look at what he said.
Musk blasted on X. Every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their head in shame. And then, the warning. They will lose their primary next year, if it's the last thing I do on this earth. But that wasn't the end of it. Just hours later, the billionaire went nuclear. If this insane spending bill passes, he declared, the America Party will be formed the next day.
Also, expectations of Federal Reserve will start cutting interest rate this year, shift the investors' money to other currencies. How and why is that? Let me give you an example. Imagine you are an investor and you decided to put your money in the US dollar earning 5%, where euro is only earning 3%. If the US suddenly says we are cutting our rate to 2%, you might say, let me move my money to euros, as they have 3%, which is more earning than the US dollar. You would move your money out of the US assets like treasury bonds, which will result to lower demand of US dollar, which will result to a fall of the value of US dollar. Another reason that caused the drop is the new tariff plan. Tariff will cause price of goods to increase, which we already have seen through inflation rate. Inflation rate rose from 2.3% back in April to 2.7% in June. More US dollar to be spent to buy the same material, which will weaken the value of US dollar over time. The chair of Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, gave a warning about the tariff and how it can trigger inflation. Take a look at this video.
If the large increases in tariffs that have been announced are sustained, they're likely to generate a rise in inflation, a slowdown in economic growth, and an increase in unemployment. The effects on inflation could be short-lived, reflecting a one-time shift in the price level. It is also possible that the inflationary effects could instead be more persistent. Avoiding that outcome will depend on the size of the tariff effects, on how long it takes for them to pass through fully into prices, and ultimately on keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Our obligation is to keep longer-term inflation expectations well anchored and to prevent a one-time increase in the price level from becoming an ongoing inflation problem.
During the time that the US dollar got weaker, other currencies got stronger in 2025, like euro, pound, and yen. They all rose because of stronger economic performance, and central banks in their regions delayed rate cuts, and they grew a global interest in diversifying away from the dollar by creating something that is called BRICS. Probably you heard about it. China, Russia, and Saudi Arabia are making deals to trade their own currencies instead of dollar as part of BRICS. BRICS was found to reduce dependency on the US dollar. This was triggered by the political tension happened between US and other countries. Now the question is, will BRICS kill the US dollar? My opinion is no. And that's because of one word called trust. People do not trust BRICS currencies as much as they trust US dollar because the US economy, legal system, and US stock markets are still the safest place for global investors. While there are battles inside BRICS, for example, Russia is pushing to have BRICS currency backed by gold, but India and Brazil prefer keeping their own currencies, and China wants to push the Chinese yuan instead. Additionally, there is still tension between India and China. The clash started back in 2020 when soldiers from both countries died during a border tension in the Himalayas. India banned many Chinese apps like TikTok and cut back on Chinese investments. Yes, India is in BRICS, but they are aligned more with the US for their security needs. Both China and India are in the same club, but they don't trust each other. BRICS unity is harder than what you think, and that is because they don't share the same political system. China and Russia are authoritarian regime, while India, Brazil, South Africa are democracies with more open markets. They have different values on transparency, regulations, and rule of law. The next question is, how soon could the US dollar be replaced? This is the trillion-dollar question. My opinion is the dollar won't be replaced soon, but its dominance will shrink significantly in the next 10 to 20 years. Let me explain how. Currently, 88% of global currencies trade involve the US dollar. For example, if John, who lives in France and wants to travel to Japan, wants some Japanese yen, while he's in Japan, right? He needs to exchange currency from euro to Japanese yen, right? You would assume that he will transfer it directly from euro to yen, but in most cases that is not true. Euros are exchanged for dollars first and then to yen. If BRICS can stop this loop, we will see significant drop in dollar reliance. To the last question, if the US dollar died, what will happen to the world? Are we going to be affected? Should we be worried? And what can we do? This is very unlikely to happen, but if it happened someday and BRICS did it, what's going to happen is the first thing is there's going to be a global financial chaos, because we know that the current global reserve currency is a dollar, and if we detach it, then that means we're going to have a global financial chaos. Markets worldwide would crash due to panic and uncertainty. Countries holding trillions of US dollar as a reserve would suffer heavy losses. Oil and commodities and global trade contracts would need to be rewritten to any other currency. Also, the US economy would be hit hard, as the US will be in the debt crisis is going to get really bad, and like the US government might have or need to drastically cut spending. There's going to be a rise of a new power, maybe China or India, or I don't know what country, but there's going to be another country that's going to take over, or maybe we're going to have a multi-polar world would emerge. All these things might happen, and also global inflation would skyrocket. Imported goods would become unaffordable. Travel, saving, and investment tied to the US dollar would be devastated. All these things was going to happen, but this is really unlikely to happen. So you should not worry. Just keep investing, follow my journey, and enjoy the journey with me, guys. I am here to guide you on how to pick the good stocks and update you with the good news.